It's always fascinating to see a main character who's first considered to be weak, but then surprises everyone with his amazing, breathtaking strength. And today, we'll be talking about such anime, hence the title, Top 10 Anime, where the main character looks weak but is actually strong as hell. Now, shall we begin? Make sure you've pressed that like button. The first one on our list is World Trigger. World Trigger may not be as popular as most of the other mainstream shonen, but it is still quite an enjoyable watch. The story begins with the appearance of a sudden gate, and from that gate, a lot of supernatural creatures come soaring in. They're notorious creatures called Neighbor, and they're immune to traditional weapons. And so, in order to deal with it, a special organization is formed, which utilizes special weapons called triggers. It's been quite some time since that day. We're talking about several years, and Neighbors still remain a major threat. Now, there are many members in training, and they're also not allowed to use triggers outside of their training headquarters. One such trainee is Osamu. It doesn't take long before he has to act out of the line to do what he believes is right. Shichise no Subaru, Seven Senses of the Reunion. A girl named Asahi dies while playing a popular RPG game called Union, and the other members had to go their separate ways when the game had to shut down because of Asahi's death. But then, 6 years later, when one of them logs into a newer version of that game called Reunion, he's oddly surprised when he reunites with Asahi, died all those years ago. But is it really her? Or is it a ghost? Someone else? An illusion? All of the former members of the team reunite in the game to find out. I'd say this anime is an unrefined combination of both Anohana and Sword Art Online, but it's still a decent watch regardless. Charlotte. The main character, named Yu, is a handsome-looking and a little cunning guy who possesses a strange ability. For about 5 seconds, he can enter someone else's body, and this ability has allowed him to commit various immoral acts unnoticed. He can peek, he can cheat, he can literally hack his way through life. But that's just the beginning of this story. What'll happen when Yu realizes that there's a number of similar individuals who also possess supernatural abilities like him? Not to mention, these abilities are not to be exploited. Soon enough, Yu realizes what is happening in the shadows, what must be done. Seiken no Blacksmith, the Sacred Blacksmith. In a world where war is now a distant memory and peace has been thoroughly established, there are new laws to restrict the use of demon-related contracts. This story is about a girl named Cecily. She's a passionate young lady who's willing to put her life on the line to protect the local folks from any impending danger that they might come across, so that whenever there's a need, she can just use the sword she inherited from her father to take care of the threat. This happens sooner than later. There's a bad guy causing trouble, so Cecily tries to confront him, but she's outmatched, and her sword gets broken. Someone else had come to save the day. But now that Cecily's lost her precious sword, what will she do? Can she get it repaired? Hitsugi no Chaika, Chaika, the Coffin Princess. The story takes place in a world where there was an emperor who ruled a kingdom for 500 years. However, he wasn't a just ruler. He did many inhumane experiments and was as cruel as one can get. But 5 years ago, he was defeated by 8 heroes, and the reign of this cruel emperor came to an end. Now in the present day, there's a boy named Toru. He's unsatisfied with the now peaceful world because he can no longer use his fighting abilities for a living. But he doesn't have to wait, as he gets a job sooner than later. A white-haired girl named Chiaki wants him and his sister to help her collect the remnants of her father's corpse so that she can give him a proper burial. Who is this father? And who is this white-haired girl? Yu-Q Holder. The main character, Tauta, is an ordinary boy who's been living an ordinary life in a small rural town, which all changes when his mentor reveals the fact that she happens to be a vampire. Something happens, and in order to save Tauta, she also ends up making him immortal. Now he's developed an insane thirst for wonder and exploration. He wants to ascend to the top of a humongous tower and go to outer space, all the while coming across similar fellows and becoming friends with them. The premise gives you Eden Zero vibes, but this one is a little different. Tokyo Ravens. There's a powerful magic technique which allowed the Japanese to gain an upper hand during the Second World War, so that they can properly establish themselves as the more dominant force. That is until a reverse of that technique came into play. Japan was defeated, and it caused the great spiritual disaster, whose after effects are still a thing. And so a special organization was found in order to exorcise spirit-related threats and also get rid of demons that come from another realm. It's a complicated situation, an even more complicated way of dealing with it. Furthermore, that magic technique now has advanced, refined applications, which make it easier to use this magic in branches of medicine, and then some. But not everyone is able to use it. Main character Harutora is one such case who lacks the necessary aptitude to use this magic. Hello World. Hello World is a popular anime movie that came out in 2019. And it takes place in the future, where Kyoto has been thoroughly advanced at a fundamental level. There's a boy named Naomi. He's more or less an introvert, but is quite fond of books. He can never get enough of them. And then there's a girl named Ruri. She's not very outgoing either, but since she also loves reading books, both of them get along pretty well. Their relationship only continues to grow. But then one day, after witnessing something strange, Naomi comes across another Naomi who's from 10 years in the future. And the reason he's now in the past is because he has to change a tragedy that happened to Ruri shortly after they start dating. What is this tragedy? What is this advanced technology? And when all is said and done, will Naomi be able to change the future? Shanwang de Richang Shengho, Daily Life of the Immortal King. This is a 15-episode-long Chinese anime that features an insanely strong main character named Wang. He was born a mutant prodigy, even capable of destroying the world. In a way, his birth sort of resembles Saiki Kuso's from Saiki K. He's nearly invincible, but since he can't control his ridiculous power, he has to continuously follow his parents' guidelines. And now that he's finally 16 years old, the greatest challenge awaits him. Will he be able to remain low in a magic high school? One thing happens after another, and his plan of living a peaceful and silent student life only continued to get further and further away from him. Shumatsu nani shitemasu ka? Isogashi desu ka? Tsukute morate ri desu ka? World End. What do you do at the end of the world? Are you busy? Will you save us? A man named Willem leaves his dear ones and sets forth on the grand journey of defeating a notorious monster. And despite the fact that he succeeds and the monster is defeated, he himself gets frozen in ice. And while he's frozen, several terrifying creatures emerge on the planet and begin to threaten humankind. Soon enough, and by soon, I mean 500 years later, Willem finally comes out of his everlasting slumber, only to find out that humans have been thoroughly wiped out, and he's now the last of his kind. He starts living together with other races on a sky island, which was the only way for everyone to live without getting hunted by those terrifying creatures. Willem is lonely, and he does odd jobs to pass time. One day, he's tasked to caretake a few weapons. However, he's incredibly stunned to see these weapons. They're living children of a different species, and they have forsaken themselves entirely. Willem becomes a father figure for them. But how will this dark and depressing story end? There you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video and found something that you haven't watched yet. Now, make sure you like the video and share your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you're new to the channel, you should consider turning that red subscribe button gray. I post regular content every day.